Did you know that a $30 piece can make you an extra $5,000 every single month? Let me show you how. I bet your first question that you're wondering is, what even is this little piece? It just looks like a chunk of metal and got this little nipple on the end here. What this is a chemical downstream injector. What this allows you to do is inject chemical into your water line and out through your nozzle. Now, you're gonna need a couple extra parts to make all of this work, but I promise you, this is gonna be the best investment that you can make in your pressure washing company that's gonna give you the highest return. So let me tell you how this works. Basically, this is going to attach to your pressure washer. Let's bring this thing out. There we go. This is gonna attach to your pressure washer on the side where the water is coming out. You're going to attach another hose to this into a bucket full of a cleaning agent, typically sodium hypochlorite and some kind of surfactant or soap. When you use a soap nozzle or a large orifice nozzle, the chemical injector is going to create a siphon effect, effectively siphoning the chemical from the bucket into your water line at a predetermined ratio. That's going to mix with the water and shoot out through your nozzle so that you can apply it on the siding, concrete, or wherever you want to. So how can this little piece make you $5,000? Let me tell you. If you already have a pressure washing business that's already doing some revenue every single month, you can add a new service to your existing pressure washing business called soft washing. Soft washing is the practice of applying a chemical agent to a surface and using that to clean instead of high pressure. Now, you could turn your existing pressure washer into a soft washing machine with just this little device here and a few other ancillary parts. Let me show you. So typically when you buy a good quality downstream injector, it's gonna be a hunk of metal like this. You're gonna have a 1/4 inch barb on one side. You're gonna have 3/8 inch nipples on either side. And those are gonna be NPT threads. You can attach quick connects to these very easily, just, like this. Now, before we attach these, we actually want to take a look. If you look at the side of your downstream injector, there's going to be little arrows. The arrows are going to tell you which direction the water needs to be flowing. So in this example, this arrow is pointing this way. So I want to make sure I install it this way. So I look at the quick connect on the end and do the opposite, which is, this is a 3/8 inch plug. So I'm going to put a 3/8 inch coupler on this side. And of course, before I do that, I'm gonna put some pipe tape. I use Blue Monster on all my fittings. It works really, really well. Never had any issues with it. So I'm going to tighten that down. Now, if this was something I was gonna actually deploy, I would tighten it down much tighter with my vice grips or a pair of wrenches. So I put the couplers on either side and then boom, I attach it. This part is completely done. Now you have a soft washing machine. The next part is we have to attach our pressure washing hose to this end. This is going to send water all the way through and is going to inject chemical here. So how do we get chemical into this little tiny orifice? Let me show you. The next thing you're gonna need is a bucket of some sort. I just happen to have a 5-gallon bucket laying around, but I prefer you use a carboy that has a sealable lid. You're going to need some 1/4 inch tubing, and you're gonna need a PVC pipe 1/2 inch in interior diameter. What you're gonna do is you're going to feed your tube through the PVC pipe, and this is going to cause the tube to go straight. You're gonna put that into the bucket. Now the reason why you wanna do that is if you were to just put the tube into the bucket, it will curl up and it may not draw chemical. This allows the tube to stay completely straight and stay at the bottom of the bucket. Then you're gonna take this, and at this end, you're gonna attach it to the end of the downstream injector. This is going to draw chemical out from the bucket, through the tube, into the downstream injector, through the hose, and out through your nozzle. You're gonna need one extra thing. At the other end, move this over here. At the other end, you're gonna need a soap nozzle. Very, very popular is the Jrod. You can pick these up online. They're relatively inexpensive. You're going to use the wide orifices, either the shooter tip wide orifice, the 0 degree wide orifice, or the fan tip wide orifice to apply your chemical. If you use the 0 degree wide orifice, that is going to give you a longer distance. So this is good for applying chemical on a second story, reaching the gutters, the soffits, the fascia boards, all of those things very high up. Or if you're doing one-story applications, it's good to use the fan tip. This is going to allow you to apply chemical at a lower level and a nice even coat. If you want even more control, instead of navigating that long wand and trying to get it throughout the house, I try to use a shorter gun or a gun without the lance attached to it. You can pick these up online as well, and this is going to give you control right here. You're going to be able to get around the house, get into tight spaces, behind pillars, things like that, and apply chemical this way. Now, what do we put in the bucket in order to do soft washing? Well, soft washing has 3 ingredients: water, sodium hypochlorite, and a surfactant or a soap. So surfactants, their properties are to keep a surface wet. When you mix a surfactant with sodium hypochlorite and water, it's going to keep the surface that you're cleaning wet, which is going to give the sodium hypochlorite more opportunity to act on the surface. The cleaning agent that's we're really applying is the sodium hypochlorite. So you don't have to do any crazy math here. Normally, professionals will buy sodium hypochlorite in high concentrations at 12.5 or 10%. You can get sodium hypochlorite from Walmart. It's typically referred to as Pool Shock, your local pool store, or any pool distributor. Make sure that you buy sodium hypochlorite in 10 or 12.5%. 12.5% would be the absolute best. You're going to pour your 12.5% sodium hypochlorite into your 5-gallon bucket. You're going to mix in some surfactant or soap. I recommend buying a reputable brand of surfactant. I personally use Apple Wash, but check online for good surfactants that you feel comfortable with, or maybe even your local suppliers. You're going to add the recommended amount of surfactant to your mixture, giving you a 12.5% surfactant mixture in the bucket. When you put the dipstick into this mixture, the downstream injector is going to pull a certain ratio. Depending on the downstream injector you buy, it's going to have different ratings. The ratings have to do with the gallons per minute of the system, the orifice size on the downstream injector, which creates a flow rate of the chemical injection. I know that sounds super complicated, but basically you want to buy a chemical injector that matches your pressure washer's gallons per minute. So if you have a 3-gallon a minute system, you want to make sure your downstream injector is rated for 3 gallons per minute. Sometimes it's a range of 2 to 4 gallons a minute, and that's fine. This is going to give you a predictable result at the downstream injector. If you have an 8-gallon a minute system, make sure your downstream injector is rated for 8 gallons a minute. Again, that's going to give you a predictable result. It's also going to tell you a flow rate. The flow rates are typically communicated in a ratio, either a 10-to-1 ratio, or they may give it to you in percentages, a 10% ratio. That basically means for every 10 parts of water, 1 part of chemical is going to be injected into the line. So if we do simple math, at 12.5%, a 10-to-1 ratio is going to give you a 1.25% sodium hypochlorite blend applying to the house. That's great for vinyl siding, pre-treating, and post-treating concrete. You're going to be able to get a lot done with that. They do make high flow rate downstream injectors that can get you up to about 20%. On a 12.5% sodium hypochlorite, that brings you up to about 2.5% mixture. This is not quite a hot enough mixture to do roof cleanings and moss treatment, but it is hot enough to get you into lap siding, vinyl fences, and doing some good pre-treating on concrete and brick. Now, once the chemical has been completely applied to the house siding, you're going to take the dipstick out of the solution, and that's going to basically just draw water. Yes, some air will be drawn, and that should be okay. It shouldn't mess up the pressure too much. If you wanted, you could put a barb valve in line here. Let me show you how that works. So to accomplish that, what we're going to do is we're going to cut the line in half, and we're going to pick up a valve that is going to be able to give you the ability to turn it on and off, and it's going to have 1/4-inch barbs on either end. You're going to Put that on one side, put that on the other side, and now you can turn on and off the chemical injection right here. So why do you want to do this? If you're done treating the entire surface that you want to clean, you want to turn off the chemical. Instead of turning off the pressure washer, taking this off, disconnecting this, putting this back on, turning the pressure washer back on, that's a lot. That's a lot of downtime. You want to be able to move quickly so that you can do more properties. This allows you to cut on the chemical line and start drawing chemical. While the pressure washer is still on, you just do this and you're pulling chemical now. Alternatively, if you don't want to install a barb, you can have a separate 5-gallon bucket of just water and just transfer it from the sodium hypochlorite to the water. That's almost preferable because you are rinsing out the downstream injector. Inside of the downstream injector is a little ball and a little spring. After a while, this is going to get corroded and that is going to start drawing chemical. I recommend that you have a backup downstream injector on the truck at all times, just in case something happens with this. Now, let's say you get all of this hooked up and you're just not pulling chemical. Let's diagnose some of the reasons that could be happening. Well, first, the big issue that causes the siphon effect not to happen is air. So the fastest way to correct that is make sure that all of your fittings are very tight, your quick connects are threaded on appropriately. Then you can put clamps on each one of the barb connections. You would simply go to your local hardware store, pick up these hose clamps, they're relatively cheap, and you can apply them right on your barbs just like this. And I do a twist test. If I can twist it, then that means air can get into it. So right there, it's barely twisting. I know that that line is pretty secure. Add hose clamps here, and that's going to ensure that there's no air that's leaking into the system. The next thing you want to check is to make sure that your tube is all the way at the bottom and that your bucket is full. If your tube is not at the bottom, for example, when it comes rolled up like this, people will put it in here and then that liquid will cause it to rise or curl up even more. And then sometimes it'll be sticking out just like this, or lower, just like that. That will cause air to draw in, and again, you won't draw any chemical. If your bucket is empty and it doesn't have any chemical in it, then again, you're not drawing any chemical, and that's going to cause the soft washing not to happen. The last thing is your nozzle. If you're not using an appropriate size nozzle, you're going to not draw chemical because the siphon effect won't take place. If you use a high pressure nozzle, the water is going to be moving too fast through here. It's not going to siphon any chemical. So you want to make sure that you're using an appropriate nozzle. This is a lot of information to remember. So I made a handy tool for you. This is the Wash Playbook. It's available on Amazon and thewashplaybook.com for digital download. Pick up your copy. It has everything you need to know about downstream injectors, soft washing, pretty much everything that you need to know that we talked about here is going to be in this guide. It's the most comprehensive guide to pressure washing and soft washing. Now, in the beginning, I said that you can make an extra $5,000 every month with just these simple parts. And I'm not lying to you. If you're already doing a driveway for a house and you're charging, let's say $200 for that driveway, you can easily upsell a home siding soft wash on a 1-story house for $200 to $300 and a 2-story house for $300 to $500, depending on the size of the house. When I added downstream injecting to my business, I went from $5,000 a month to $10,000 a month very, very easily. It was a no-brainer upsell, and the customers were always super happy to see their properties look absolutely amazing. Leave a comment below. Are you gonna add downstream injecting to your existing pressure washing setup? Is this as complicated as it looked? I wanna hear what you have to say. If you found this information valuable, make sure you smash that like button and you subscribe for more videos like this. If there's something that you wanna know about pressure washing, please let me know in the comments. I wanna make videos about the questions that you need answered. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Keep washing.
Love me or hate me, oh my God, it's heavy. Oh.